Hi students, this time just we are going to make an explanation of the poem entitled Death Be Not Proud by John Donne. I am Dr. Naveen Kumar Jha, Associate Professor in English, RAGS College, Ahalya Asthan. We know that this is a very remarkable poem, and we people have been discussing this poem time and again. However, we can say that it remains a little bit unfinished to talk about this poem. So we cannot say that this is the final deliberation that I am going to make about this poem, and there is no need of further deliberation. But I am just at this juncture trying to say the more you are trying to make explanation of this poem, especially metaphysical poem, the more we get interested into the very inner depth of this poem. So we have here this poem to first think from John Donne's point of view about death, and on the other hand we have also just our own free thinking about the death and so many other metaphysical themes that we are concerned with. So we first go to read the text and make just a cursory view about this poem. We can say that this is the text here just before us, and the very first word of the very first line is death. That the poet addresses death, saying that be not proud. The poet is just addressing death not to be proud, because it is supposed that death is mighty, death is powerful. So death is just going to be proud of its might, its power, and it thinks that it is not to be defeated anyway. And we people have so many just conventional view about the death that makes death glorify and makes death mighty. So he writes, death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful. Yes, there are some conventional views. There are some viewers who are just going to address you mighty and dreadful. The poet says that no, there is no need of calling you mighty and dreadful, because actually you are not so powerful as most of the people are thinking you of. So he writes, for thou art not so. It is not the explanation in terms of might and dreadful existence that death should be made. We generally find that death is not just dreadful enough. We are very much fearful the moment we are talking about death, and we hear that nobody wants to die. Just we always want to live, and we want to get our immortality, because everybody wishes to have command over death, that we can live life after life and so on. It is what our internal wish is, intention is. So whenever there is just a discussion of death, we become very sorry that it is appearing and it is going to make our life over. So then our wish to live for so many years will be just defeated. It is why the people are thinking it's mighty and dreadful. They think that yes, it makes life over. He thinks that there is no further just a life after death and so on. But the poet is going to negate all this established view. He is not going to say that we should describe death in terms of a mighty existence and dreadful existence, because the poet has his own logic to just deny the established view and assumption about the death. So we can say, for those whom you thinkst thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death. There are so many people who are thinking death in the way that we have discussed. That so many people think that death is not to be conquered, it is not to be overpowered. But the poet is overthrowing all this view. He is not going to admit this view that most of the poets have established about death and so on. We can say that poet does not find any reason to think death in that way. So he is going to root out all the established and conventional view about that, because he is just thinking that die not, poor death. Death is so poor. Nor you canst thou kill me. And the death is so poor that death is not capable enough of killing the poet. Poet does not think that he will be killed. Now here we should notice that the poet thinks that his work will always be spoken out. He knows that there is an end of physical existence, but that is not the very much function of death to finish physical existence of the people. As a personality, we remain after death also. We can say that the death that we are talking is just enough to make our physical existence over. It is what we can say, that death has this much just cause to just realize. But the poet thinks that he's a poet, he's a brilliant person, he's a genius one in some way or other. So the poet does not think that he will be killed. His personality will be killed, because the poor death is not capable and powerful enough to kill his personality, to kill his word, for which he is known, he is remembered. So he says that no, it is not within the reach of the poor death to kill the poet. So from rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be. Now he is just going to define death just according to his own perception of life. He does not think that death is just anything better than just rest and sleep. It is a kind of permanent rest, it is a kind of permanent sleep. We just are in slumber. Every day we find that it is all our physical necessity that we fall in our slumber, we remain in rest and remain in sleep. But that is only for a short period. We wake up and we continue our life. But when the sleep of death comes, we can say that it is not for a short time that this sleep of death is coming. We can say that it remains for a long time, and we can say that it is the reason that people are careful about it, that he knows that it is such a long and permanent sleep that we are not going to wake up once again, and so we'll always be in the slumber and slumber. So not yet canst thou kill me, from rest and sleep, which but thy picture be. It is what the reality of death is. The picture of death is very much clear. It is very much just the essential existence that poet is describing. If someone is just left to describe and picturize the death, he will present the picture in terms of rest and sleep, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow. It is just a pleasant sleep, we can see. We are actually just afraid of death. It is what our thinking is death. It is in the way of thinking that we are very much just fearful. Even we utter the name of death and so on. But the poet says that when we are thinking about this very closely, very minutely, we can say that it is a very pleasant experience. It has much more pleasure than we are thinking. We are thinking that no, it is a very sorry just condition of our life. It is just unpleasant experience of life that everyone has to pass through. It is with that kind of negative just connotation that we are learned to describe death, and we are describing death. The poet is thinking that no, this is not the actual thing that he must be talking about. So he is talking that we should welcome death. Instead of being sorry, seeing death just before us, we should be happy seeing death because it's at its own advantage. We should not live here for just ever, because we can say if we are living here forever, there is no space for the people to come. We can say we should vacate the space, and let the space be occupied by the people who are following. Say he says that why should you not just make vacation of death with pleasure, instead of in the sorry mood we say okay that you are going to leave it, and soonest out best man with thee do go, rest of their bones and souls delivery. Now he says that we find it is the best to describe the death, and that death transforms our body into bones. It is what remains of death. We generally find that when there is no life, just we are buried, and bones are very much left there just to describe our existence, and the bones in just a grave are talking about our existence after death. We are just looking at that heaps of bones, and we see, oh, here this and this personality is living, and so on. And we can also say that it is another name of souls, just delivery. Souls cannot live into one body for just all time. We cannot say that it is what the nature of soul is, that once it is just residing into one body, it is going to reside throughout time. We can see that it is immortal, but our physical existence in which just soul is residing is living for short time. It cannot live for such a long time that we can say that just a soul should stay or in the same body. So he says that this body is worn out after doing lots of work in our life. So we are thinking that it is just another name of delivery of soul, and thou art slave to fate. Thou art slave to fate, and we can say that death is so poor that poet has described that it is no better than slave. Fate will itself kill just a death, and so on. And so it is slave to chance also. It is just like a desperate man who is living in a very sorry mood all time. So there is no signal which is saying that death is itself a very happy existence, and death is very happy to be powerful because it is powerful. So death is very happy. No, the poet does not think any reason, any clue to explain the very much personality of death, if it is there, and it is what personification is made about death. And he says that no, there is just a very disparate reality of death. As is a disparate person who says that being fearful of his defeat, he is disparate, and so on. So we can say that despite the conventional view that death is very powerful, but it is slave to fate. Fate is just showing all the reality of everything, including death. So we can say just and those with poisons who are just sickness dwell. We can say that as a poison is killing us, as poison is killing us, and so war is killing us. These are all the factors responsible for killing human beings, and so other living beings. So we can say that it is what the description of death should be, that it is killing, it is just agentive, as poison is an agent to kill, as war is an agent to kill, as sickness is an agent to kill, so is death. Death itself is an agent to finish this physical reality, and so it is poppy or charms can make us slip as well. we are under the influence of a poppy, and when we are under the influence of a poppy, we can say we are going to sleep. And likewise, we can say that when we are under the influence of death, we are going to sleep. And it is that sleepness that doesn't matter so far as our definition and calculation of life is concerned. We can say when we are calculating our life, we can say that no, that kind of calculation is not right. We have another way to calculate, and better than thy stroke, why shalt thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. We can say it is a matter of making our life living into just eternal existence. Once we can say that we are just starting thinking from that perspective, to let our life be just eternal, we can say that we try to make something great, something sublime in life that is living beyond death itself. And we may say that it is here that death shall be killed. If we are just trying to wake up just over the past experience, and we are just going to make the new touch to life in terms of sublimity and something like that, we can say that there shall be no death further. It is the finality of death, and death itself will be so weak that it will be killed itself just by itself. So we can say that the poet is actually concerned with making life uplift to the extent where this physical death is not going to make our life over. Generally, you find it is the common sense observation that most often the people are dying, and there is none to remember. And just no one is going to remember the people because of the fact that they have not done anything supreme, sublime, and superb to remember. And if something just eternal has been done by the person, we can say death becomes very weak there. Death becomes very poor before that kind of existence. And although physically it is just a factor to kill that person also, but he is not just successful in extinction of the personality completely. So at that time, its might is just going to dog, its dreadfulness is going to dog, and death shall itself is going to die itself. So it is what the very much a sketch of this poem is. Now we are just going to take into account some of the words which I think are very useful for you, that you should understand from a lexicographical study point of view, that it can help you understand the poem in a better way. So just to have chosen the word mighty, that itself is an adjective form of might, meaning powerful. Dreadful itself is just an adjective form, that is just horrific. And overthrow is the verb, meaning subvert, ouster. Now dosed, second person singular form of do. Disparate is gied. Then we can also make another word for disparate, that is despairing. And last word that we have chosen for our study is swell, that is rowdy, ruffian, body. So these are all possible sets of words that I've collected for our study from this poem, and I can say that we should understand all these things very clearly. And we have, just a short introduction here to make about the poet. We understand that just he is a leading personality of metaphysical school of poetry. I know he is just a what we can call Christian cleric. He is a Catholic metaphysical poet. And he was just leading the movement when just anti-Catholic movement was going into England. So he was just to establish the value of Catholicism into English society. We can say there was the period of anti-Catholicism there, that people were trying to make certain kind of reformation there in Catholicism and original religion that he was not going to accept. So we can say that this is a sonnet written in 1633 in 17th century, and we also just take into account that this is written during religious turmoil in extension of British kingdom. We can say on the one hand, Britain was ruling throughout the world. Its imperialistic government was swaying into the world. At that time, anti-Catholicism movement was going on into London. And so into 17th century, you can say, another group of poetry was emerging, which was establishing the value of Catholicism into England. So contribution of John Donne is not to be just made less. And you can say that this is written very much on the Christian doctrine of resurrection. And we find that there are so many important metaphysical poets like George Herbert, Andrew Marvell. They were classic in their way, that they have approached life and poetry and classicism into poetry. And so we remember them. But he's pioneer. He's genius. John Donne is a pioneer one, a genius one, who is leading a movement, and giving a new thought to English literature. And so this poem of his Holy Sonnet focuses on the themes like faith, morality, religion, anxiety. And we can say that poet is using its wit to explain everything. He's not just saying out of his religious belief only. What he's saying is just making everything out of his wit and wisdom, wit and explanation, wit and reason. Whether he's talking about death, he's talking about love, he's talking about sex, but everything is well established on wit, on reasoning, and on the application of intelligence. It is what John Donne is. So we stop here today, and we can say that next time we have so many things to talk about. Thank you.